Welcome to this thought for the day for the 4th of April 2020. I've got a little bit more Franciscan spirituality for you today, largely because one, I was listening to one of my favorite Franciscans, Richard Rohr, but also I was walking walking the dog this morning, and I just couldn't help but sit and look at some of the wonderful creation around me, which we are blessed with here in Chepstow. One of the key cornerstones of Franciscan spirituality is actually our connection with nature and our part within nature. Right from the beginning, Francis was very concerned that we are all connected in nature, that the humans aren't separate from it, which unfortunately some Christian thought would suggest we are, and the idea that we as humans are meant to dominate creation. That's not the Franciscan understanding. The Franciscan understanding is that we are integrally part of creation. And unfortunately, over time, a lot of that Franciscan understanding has been sentimentalized. Bird bath Franciscanism, as we call it, where you've got that cute little image of St. Francis holding a bird bath with all the fawns and birds and animals around his feet, and that wasn't the understanding that Francis had, and later some of the more Franciscan scholars certainly didn't hold to that. In Franciscanism, we understand that the first incarnation of God was creation itself, which we are part. And in other words, the first Bible, before any written words, for the first 13 billion years or whatever, the earth came into formation. The first Bible was creation itself. It was the first thing that led us to wonder and know and seek after God, the Creator, which obviously in our written Bible, in the Old and New Testaments for the Christians, is a carry on of that, further revelation of God in our world and our relation to God. And in these times, I was speaking in a line with someone getting into Marks and Spencer's the other day, and we were just saying how actually this crisis has caused us to slow down a bit, to start to appreciate some of the small things. We in the West particularly live in a very overstimulated world, which means that we seek more and more stimulation, whereas sometimes when we're forced to slow down, we can start to appreciate the smaller things and actually gain our sense of who we are and our connection in the smaller things in life. I was speaking to another friend of mine as she was coming back from a farm that she works as a volunteer, and she was saying the same, that she was able just to enjoy that day in nature. And as I walked Dunstan down the dell of Chepstow Castle, a couple of things struck me. I sort of sat on the bench for a while and let Dunstan do his spaniely thing of whizzing through all the bushes and things like that, trying to flush out whatever's there. And I just sort of noticed the whopping great imposition of the castle, yet the beautiful little delicate daffodils that were up the bank of the castle rampart. And it was just interesting how it just sort of spoke of a metaphor of humans trying to impose their dominance upon nature. Yet the castle is now a ruin. And when you look closely at the castle walls, nature is taking it back. The ivy is growing up, there's plants and all sorts of things starting to bring that castle back into its earth. And it's a bit of a metaphor that actually, for all of our want to try and dominate and impose ourselves upon this earth, creation will always bring us back, will always reclaim. You know, if any of you have seen a former quarry that has been abandoned and allowed to go back to nature, it doesn't take long before nature starts to reclaim all that place. And it puts us into perspective, and perhaps the fact that, like Francis referred to all aspects of creation as brother or sister, you know, brother sun, sister moon, it's not sheer sentimentality. It speaks of a really deep connection that we are part of that first incarnation, creation itself. And we are part of what speaks of God in this world. And perhaps we can take this time to reevaluate the idea that we can sort of control and dominate and impose ourselves upon nature for our sakes, and work like perhaps some of the people did in more ancient times, in flow with nature, realizing that we too are an integral part of it, not to dominate, but to participate.